And you're back on the air with Windham Weekly at 4 p.m. This is Ken Folan, the voice of Windham, along with my co-host, Mark Doyle, the most respectable man I know in Willimantic.
Thank you.
Believe me. Oh, what an honest guy he is. Mark knows what he's doing in his own mind. But anyway,
it pays to slip you a few dollars before the intro as well.
Yeah, well, a little pizza on the side doesn't hurt either. I know the green room was out of peeled grapes and
green M&Ms.
Green M&Ms. I don't know what's going on with this station, but besides the fact that we will be talking to the manager about this Red Sox baloney kicking us off the air, delaying us. We've got important people today. Hey, we've got a full house in studio today. We've got Josh, and here's the quiz. What do these three people all have in common, okay? So we've got Lieutenant Josh Clark from the Willimantic Police Department. We have Carla Alamo, and I should have known that because I made the connection with the name. She's a school readiness liaison from the Windham Public Schools. We have Katina Caban Owen, who's not only a member of the Board of Education, she was a long-time and cherished employee of the Windham Public Schools in her day and did great work over at North Windham School. So these three people collectively have a group that they work on, and they're going to have a big program this weekend. And they are from the Windham Task Force, No Child Left Behind, and their concern is preventing child abuse. And they have an event at Memorial Park this Saturday, the 5th of April, 11 to 2, rain or shine. And we'd like to get some calls in if you have questions on what they do and how this program works at 456-1400. So we're going to start off with Josh and then Carla and then Katina. Just tell us a little bit about yourselves, and then someone take the lead about what the program is, how it started, and how it's gotten to the point of what you're actually doing this weekend. So why don't we start with Josh?
Sure. Thanks for having us all. You guys are great. You guys have a great show and appreciate that. The Windham Task Force to Prevent Child Abuse and Neglect, we're a group that we meet together with family liaisons, the schools, different social work programs, social services, and the police department, of course. And we come together to talk about different methods that we can keep our kids safe in this community. I let Katina talk about the history and as it came up, but I'm going to pass it over to Carla right now so she can introduce herself.
Hi everyone, I'm Carla Alamo. I am the school readiness liaison for the town of Windham, and I also am part of the Windham Task Force.
And I'm Katina, and the Windham Task Force to Prevent Child Abuse and Neglect started in 2013. Yes, 2013. After the cruel murder of two girls in our town, Navea and Athena. One of them was our student in Windham Public Schools in preschool. The other one had not entered our school system. So we got outraged at these murders, and unfortunately Hayden died a few years ago, a little boy, while his mother was in the hospital. So we are advocating and trying to prevent any other child abuse, because child abuse is a totally 100% preventable crime, and also it's an equal zip code crime. It can happen at any time to people, whether it's verbal abuse and emotional abuse, physical abuse, and sexual abuse. As you might have read a few days ago, the Willimantic police arrested men for sexually molesting two children. So, yes, so that's what we do. We meet once a month, and we keep the memory of the children alive, and we try to prevent any other crimes.
Do you have any other board members you want to mention? Because I know, as you say, you're the grande dame of the group here. You were from the very beginning. Do we have any other members that we should be mentioning?
Of the Board of Education?
No, of the
board.
Of the task force.
Oh, of course. Yes, the Department of Children, Families, the director of the department, Melanie, and Rosiris Espejo, our social workers in Windham schools, Nusi Halpin, Jara Reese, and many, many others have participated. But of course, Murph Sewell, who at the time was in the Board of Education, also was the first person who donated money to get shirts. So for the last 10 years, and I let this new generation take over, we have celebrated Take Time to Play at Memorial Park, funded by the Johnson Foundation. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. McGrath, Judge McGrath, who are part of that foundation and give us money to do this activity, and others.
So I guess it's now time to see, what is this activity? Why don't you go into that in more detail, of where it is, Josh, and maybe even tell us why you selected that location.
Yeah, so I'll say this is the 10th year that Take Time to Play has been going on in Willimantic. It's a great opportunity for parents to come with their children and to just experience fun and play together whilst getting resources and information from lots of these great social services that we have in town. There's a lot of great leaders in our community, and we love to watch them sitting at every one of these tables just being host to this event with us. This is a community event, and we're just here. Advocacy is one of those things that just because one event has passed, we want to get ahead of the future events that could happen. And you sort of kind of like putting the light on. You know, you're putting a light on in a dark room, right? We put the light on so that way there's advocacy and awareness of all the different ways that these crimes can occur. And we want to try to get there and help these children, because too much of this happens right under our nose. A lot of it's happening. It's not going away, but we can definitely chip away at it. Carla, you want to talk about some of the events that we're going to be hosting?
We will be having a lot of fun activities, rain or shine. We will be there. We're going to have face painting. We're going to have bouncy houses, candy cotton, popcorn, pizza for the kids and the families, a lot of giveaways, a lot of games, music. It's going to be a really fun event together, like Josh said, with a lot of agencies and resources for families. So
it's going to be, you'll have some like vendor roundtables set up, as well as the activities for the kids. And that's at the tables is where the education is going to help.
Exactly. So we will also have like a ticket system where the families will go to every agency and get like a punch hole card. And that will be for a raffle at the end or between the day and the hours go by.
That's a smart move. And corporations do that all the time. When you go to a meeting, they make you go to the tables, get that stamp. When you get a full stamp, then your name goes in for a prize or what have you, to make sure you hopefully they're not just going in for the punch, but they're going to learn and listen, because the goal is really important in preventing any type of abuse, mental, physical, sexual. It murders. I mean, it's something that people read about and say not here, but it has happened here. And I'm going to ask Josh, how frequent are these domestic calls? Because not all of them are murder, but do you hear from children calling for help, or is it another spouse calling on their spouse or their boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever the living arrangement is?
Yeah, there's so many different ways now that you can voice. A lot of times children will, or they'll mention it in the school systems. And it's why we have great people in our school systems, social workers and family liaisons and teachers receiving this information. But, you can text 911 now and be anonymous. You can call 911 and be anonymous and say, whatever address it is. If not, we'll ping the address and we'll come there. And it's our job to investigate this, and we take this very seriously. Chief Silva is a strong proponent of us combating child abuse and neglect in this community, and we're going to continue to fight for this cause as long as it takes. It may take years, it may take a decade, but we're going to seek justice for any and all victims of these kind of crimes.
Everyone talks about the first responders and everything else. In this community, sometimes those first responders are our most valued people, are the teachers in these buildings, whether it's K through 12, in respect to being mandated reporters. And, otherwise, how is a social worker going to know unless a teacher happens to spot? And they spend more time with these children than anyone in the community, Monday through Friday, even more time than parents. So, I always take my hat off to the educators. It's a tough job. It's a calling. It's no less than being a policeman or a priest and everything. I say it all the time because if you don't have that spark to do and that desire to do, it ain't going to get done. And then these kids are at risk. And so they're always looking for, whether it's sometimes the kid confides or a teacher pries and says, hey, it's always little Johnny, by the way. I've never seen Ken. I'm always out of the picture. No one ever asked me if I had problems. Katina, no one asked me.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
but it's always little Johnny
You've been busy hanging out with Barbie all the time, Ken.
who had these issues. And, and you'd be surprised the connection, just like the SRO at the schools. That role to me is very important. And I remember it started with when I was a chair on the board to go with the chief and get this SRO set up.
What is an SRO, Ken? Why don't we tell people what that is? Or Josh can tell us.
Josh can explain that with the SRO.
Well, first off, I want to say thank you for the Board of Education. You guys have a thankless job as well. Behind the scenes, you're taking all kinds of shots from different angles, I'm sure. But you guys are all in the interest of one mission, which is all of our mission, and is to keep our kids educated and safe and many other things. So thank you to you guys. You guys probably don't get enough of that. School resource officer, that's SRO. These are very important. Not every school has them. We're fortunate in Windham to have one. And it's just like a way to bridge that gap too. You have an officer inside the school system, and he's not there to enforce the law necessarily, but more towards the guidance of rehabilitation and maybe guidance of the law side of it inside the school, because they play two different roles in the school from what I understand. But I think it's really important for children, young adults, even staff to know that we're people too. We were those children at some point. I remember visiting Katina when I was a small child in North Wyndham, and that's true.
Yes. Yeah. Speaking of which, you're one of our hometown heroes. You've been through the school system. You've been here your entire life?
My entire life, yes. Yeah. And I'm not afraid to at my ripe age to be honest with myself.
Yes.
And others about things. That you can definitely fall into harder times and come back from it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, one of the SROs is a relative of my wife's on her side, and I'm sure Josh knows Mike Haggerty. Here's a guy who, again, born and raised in Willimantic, became a patrolman, and it became one of the first, I don't know if he was the first or not, but he was one of the first SROs we had up at the high school. And to this day, he's retired, obviously, and he comes back from Florida and coaches baseball and whatnot, and football, and he stayed connected that way. And I've heard some of the stories of the connections that they build. My wife, who is a special ed teacher at the high school, again, born and raised in this town, she hasn't left high school in 30-something, 40 years, whatever. She's been up there forever. And, she's connected. And when I say they make that one-on-one to hear the stories, she's heard some stories. I've heard some, plenty of horror stories and when I was on the Board of Ed back in the day, you end up hearing things from staff that you thought never would happen in your own school, but it does. They face it and they try to fix it, and then you see the success stories. It's on my end. When I served at 30 years in politics, I was able to hear some stories and know the stories, and heartwarming when as you get older. And my wife and I can't go anywhere without some kid running up to her that she worked with over the years, and that's what this program should be. And like you said, Katina, the younger group, we're trying to pass on our own younger group thing, Mark and I, to a couple people, to continue. There's the paycheck, right? But there's the $1 million paycheck when a kid comes up, hey, thank you. You don't know what you did to change my life.
I would like to say that not only Windham Public Schools is involved with the Task Force to Prevent Child Abuse and Neglect, but we also partner with Eastern Connecticut State University. What a great resource. Actually was one of the social work students who came up with the idea of doing Take Time to Play, and now we're doing our 10th anniversary of the activity for teaching, all of us about having better lives. Also want to add that I did not was born in Willimantic, but I came at 25 and I stayed. wow, what a community. You know, we really, some people underestimate the value of the humans that work and live here. It's incredible. This is a totally volunteer organization. Totally volunteer. People come in, enjoy, join, fight. We are the only volunteer task force to prevent child abuse and neglect in the state of Connecticut. And look what has happened in other towns. I wish their citizens would also have, or their community would have the, the commitment to raise and say we're also going to join in together and have this type of volunteer teaching. And I love this town.
I have a toss-up question for any one of you three. Obviously, you do the event you're doing this Saturday. You've done that for 10 years. In between time, what is the mission of the group? Do you? I don't know that you actually do it yourself, but if I'm a parent who's struggling and I want help, do you help me find a counselor that'll work with me? If I'm how do you operate during the course of the year?
So right now we have a big group. We have, I want to say, roughly 25 plus people in our task force, and this includes agencies in town and surrounding areas. We have created a spreadsheet with information of like names, emails, phone numbers, and what the agency does. And if we, for example, if myself or Josh or Katina or anybody on the task force has a family who's struggling with whatever the case might be, they can refer back to that spreadsheet and be like, oh, but, this agency, like, for example, school readiness, will help this family, apply for preschool or infant toddler care in Willimantic, or I might have any other information in surrounding towns, or like that connection that will help a family thrive and get what they need to, get that extra help. Not every family has, the transportation or, housing, food, whatever it might be. There's always something out there for a family in need. Resources are hard to find if you don't know where to go. My office is located at the senior center, so I will hear a lot of stories, and I'm lucky enough to have all these resources now that I have, so then I can be like, give me a minute, I will find you a contact information, or I will make that phone call for that family.
I like to add also that we kind of take the pulse of what's happening in the community. Last year, our communication among ourselves was to keep home visitors safe after the murder of the nurse on a weekend. And so we advocated and went back to our agencies to create protocols about being safe. Simultaneously, we were talking about children, now that THC marijuana is legal, children getting a hold of the marijuana or being in the car with the parents using, coming to our schools and other schools, because people come from Pomfret and other towns to the task force, basically intoxicated from secondhand smoke. So we went to the dispensaries. We sent information out to parents. We made everybody alert about what was happening, and at the time Take Time to Play, we distribute information about keeping your substances locked up and used appropriately, because also the Windham Prevention Program and Karen Rabanallo and Josh and all that program really works with our task force to prevent the use of substances in young people.
Do you have a social media presence? How as I as a parent can get in touch with you? Do you have Facebook page or a social media page or a website?
Not these. Well, we have had a Facebook page, but I'm getting tired of so many things, so I haven't kept it up. Last year, we had an intern from the communications department from Eastern, and she did some interviews and created an Instagram page, but we are lacking on that area.
But we can always visit you at the senior center, or people can call the police station and get a hold of you, Josh?
Yeah, so the good thing about this task force is there's people from all segments of our professional community and even parents. And yeah, this is a good note, and we appreciate you bringing that up because we're going to have to we'll have to start making that more known so we have something. But the good thing about like the task force is, like Carla was saying and Katina, is that if something comes to any of our attention, we have about, like you said, 25 or so people that are the right person in that organization to get right through all that tape to where you need to go. So, like, if I have a question about many things, I'll ask one of the two. They're sitting right next to me, Katina or Carla. But I can also ask any of the other people that are, I learn more sitting in these task force meetings than I have anything to say. Yeah. So I learn more about the organizations, and our goal is to make that available for anybody that needs it. So yeah, it's like finding the right person, and if they're there voluntarily, we're the right people that can get you right to where you need to go.
Okay. Hey, so once again, you're listening to Windham Weekly on WILI 1400 with myself, Ken Folan, and Mark Doyle. Our guests are Lieutenant Josh Clark from the Willimantic PD, Carlo Alamo, who's a school readiness liaison, and everyone knows Katina Caban Owen, except I normally put a name backwards. I always called you Katina Caban, whatever. Yeah. But I've known you long enough where it doesn't, You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So, and they are all from the Windham Task Force, no Child Left Behind. And again, they have an activity. This group is 10 in the 10th anniversary. And again, it's a very worthy cause. And people really need to go to this event, show some support. The kids will have fun. Parents can take information that maybe they have some, questionable neighbor down the road, or they've heard some horror stories, and now they can get some resources to help that family and that, especially that child, right, for prevention's sake. It's this Saturday, April 5th, from 11 to 2 at Memorial Park. If you want to speak to any of these three fine folks, 456-1400. Mark? Questions?
Oh, I thought you wanted me to call. No,
I don't even want to talk to you, but it's part of the job.
That's why we're on opposite sides of the studio.
Yeah, so you just reminded me of an example. I was at the public library a few months ago, and this lady keeps looking at me. I had no idea who she was. She comes back and says, "You work with kids who are abused, right?" Sure. So, and she told me that she was worried about a situation in town and the kids who lived in that household. And then I guided the lady to go to a police department. And then she was like, "I'm scared of those cops." And I said, "Oh, please. This is the one that you need to call, and the other." So, it was like a bridge. And I had no clue who this human was. None. Zero. But that happens. Then people feel comfortable approaching people who work on prevention.
Right. And that's when you're on the Board of Ed and other boards, but that's the whole point of it, is being there. You raise your hand, you volunteered, please elect me to be on these things, right? And so, and I got this from like 5 superintendents ago, where people are calling you because they are afraid of the system, whether it's the police department, whether it's social workers, the school district, they're afraid. So if they have your trust, all of you, right? If you have trust in a police officer or a liaison or a school teacher or a school board member, they trust you. So they're coming to you, and all they need is that bridge. And then they find out on the other side of that bridge is help, not someone who's ready, to lock you up or bite you. And that's a big part of the school district at one point, was that so many people were afraid to cross that bridge for help. And in this situation, I mean, I can only hope that when you're having this event, that you're reaching the right people, the parents, the friends, the kids, and that you're building that bridge and they're willing to help Again, whether it's for their own family or someone else's family, because it's out there. Otherwise, you wouldn't have as many homeless families and homeless kids. Mark and I remember all those stories from when we were on the board together with kids that, how they're getting there now. You're mandated to get them there, which is another thing that you got to fund. That they didn't give you any money for. Let's put it that way, to fund it. But I mean, these kids need an education. It's the law. We owe them that, whether it's a law or not. Okay, so in the same thing here, we owe this as a community to save as many kids as we can from being hurt, because it takes a long time. If you've been abused one way or another, it takes a long time to recover, and sometimes you never really recover.
Exactly. Yes, we all have our traumas in our childhoods, and then people like us have secondary traumatization. Social workers, teachers, first responders, we all, but we have to breathe deeply and continue the fight. And then we do other things. The task force does, for example, on the high school. They have the lock-in for literature and culture. Well, we have a table, Jara, Josh, everybody who comes, and we use actually art in that moment for the students to express what they are feeling and thinking, and then they can take it home. But we're there to talk with them, and those are the teenagers who are the next parents. We have done their capstone projects at the high school on teaching other kids who are going to be parents about child abuse and neglect. We participate in this is a connection thing when we have the Christmas presents, right? Not this year, but last year, because of our connection with DCF, we were able to supplement all the toys, and the police officers came with big trucks and took everything for the kids in town. What else do we do?
There's many things. A lot of people
Three Kings Day.
Yeah, all the Three Kings Day, and a lot of people are involved with other things. Like Carla runs another event, and so do I, and other people. So we're just a group of people that are willing to help the community and each other in their efforts to help the community.
Right.
Yeah.
So I seem to recall, because I used to be on the committee, there was a Crime Stoppers phone number. Is that still operational, that people can use the Crime Stoppers as a tip line for the police? Or has that gone away?
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
Okay,
I've been there for 18 years. But you can always call in anonymously if you have any information. Yeah. And to kind of second on that note, it's all of our responsibility. We have a lot of great mandated reporters in this community that do their job really well, and other people that are vested in this community in different ways. But it's everybody's responsibility to recognize and take action.
Absolutely.
So, Katina, over the 10 years, and I don't want to put you on the spot here, but over the 10 years...
Put her on the spot, for God's sake. She's sitting here like you all day doing what? What do you do all day?
I know. Right.
Abuse, I tell you. So,
Yes.
tell me about have we seen results, is what I'm asking.
Okay. Prevention is a very hard
to prove that's true.
to measure. Number one. What we know is that more people are aware, conscientious, and also the children tell others if their friends are being bullied or by the parents or mistreated by parents. I know that the awareness has grown tremendously.
That's another way of asking, have we seen more participation in your yearly event?
There were 300 people last year. It was like...
Yeah, we run out of stuff every time.
we run
and it
out of
gets
stuff
Okay.
planned
very
more and more
early.
every year, which is a good thing.
Yes.
I gave away all my books. I brought probably 100 plus books.
Yeah.
Yes.
And people are nice. Like Tony's Pizza gives us a special rate for the pizza, and Staples gives us a special rate for the flyers. I mean, like, people know about these things and are like, I don't even have to say. I say it's from the task force. Oh yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Ken?
Well, of course I have good questions. I'm the
Thank
voice
you.
of Windham. I
Thank
want to
you.
know. I ask questions because I want to know answers. I want to educate myself.
Yes, sir.
You know?
What's the question?
Hey, lady, I'm doing the interviewing. All right? This is the problem with this world.
I'm the social worker. So I ask questions.
I was along with Mark's thing. I was wondering, maybe Josh knows, has there been a decline, or does it seem like? Because I would think, and I'm not getting into politics, but as the economy kind of is getting rocky for people, and food prices and everything else, that adds stress in the family homes, typically. And I'm wondering, are you seeing an increase, decrease, is steady?
So I'll say that all issues in society, direct or indirect, always affect these things, and it's unfortunate, but we got to expect that these things are happening, and we just have to find them. You know, we have to uncover. To answer your question without answering it, I feel like it's a steady thing, and that's why it's so important.
It's a steady drumbeat of kids needing help. And your whole department, like the Willimantic PD, which does a phenomenal job for our community, and now you got your new chief, and that is one of his top 5 items.
Oh, absolutely. He always expresses how our population, we focus on the entire population, but our vulnerable population is a special focus for us. And the children of the community, they sometimes need a stronger voice, especially if they're not getting it in their own home. And that's where the schools, the police, the Board of Education, and many others come into play, and school liaisons. We all have a part in this. Even this radio station, you guys hosting us and allowing us to make this a constant narrative.
Actually, it was Colin Rice. That's his name, right?
That's his name, yes.
Yes, Colin Rice, who, when the first time that I came here with Nathan and Elizabeth, who now have passed away, and said, we need to have public service announcements because in Windham, they are all our kids. And he said, that's it. That's the tag for the task force. In Windham, they're all our children. It was him who identified the phrase. And I'm going to say that we blame parents for everything. Their kid is late, the kid is da. Okay, but it's our society. We promote and maintain violence. It's very stressful. We don't have resources to alleviate parental stress. And then we systemically sometimes do not care for our children. I mean, what's going to happen now with school lunches? And so poverty in itself. But again, I don't want to blame people. I think it happens in all stratas of society. If not, look at that case in Waterbury right now, where the young person, 31 years old, was kidnapped and kept in the house for 21 years. What the heck? 20 years or so. It's horrible. So, yeah, it comes in many ways.
You know, one of the things I think might be interesting, if you can explain to us about the school readiness, because I don't think people understand
Good idea.
what we do in terms of identifying children in the system that, or in the city that need to come into the school system, or where you place them. Maybe you can explain more of your role as a school readiness person.
Well, how the school readiness system works is that we reach out to the community. I have an upcoming event on April 26th, and where families, anyone can come. And again, I distribute flyers everywhere, the shelter, you name it, everywhere in town. And on this event, we talk, to families, and we only have one program in this community that offers transportation. So a lot of our families, unfortunately, lack of transportation. And so it's really hard for some of them to be there. So we tried our best, and not always works, to place those kids where transportation is provided. If it doesn't, we tried our best to work out, if you live close to this program, are you able to walk? Even if the family doesn't work, they're able to apply and will qualify for a preschool slot. We want these kids to be in school. We want these kids to get the learning they need on their early ages, which is for their future. And like Atina was saying about lunches and breakfast, this might be the only meals these kids get during the day, because they might get home to just a snack or one meal, because that's all mom or dad could afford for the day, right? So that's how we try to work out everything. Unfortunately, I don't have the space for every kid. I wish I could. We do have a lot of children in
So
this
by
town.
space, you mean space in preschool?
In the slots in the
There's only so many preschool
programs.
operators and seats available.
Yes. So, we have wait lists of our family waiting for a space available to come up, whether it's because of transportation or the child might have a special need. So I have to focus on where can I place this child where they can have the services they need, because that's key too. If I'm not gonna place a child where they will receive services, but not all of the services
Right.
that child might need, right? So it's a lot of work. I have to look through all, the application. I have to look through their physical forms. I have to read all that and make sure that kid is, served and placed on the right place for them and their families.
And that's important because we have to start them off right in the preschool so they can have success as they move through the whole system.
Correct.
Okay,
Ken.
we're going to be closing out the show shortly. I want to take a minute to thank Katina, who has been a wonderful person through the years working for the Windham Public Schools. And I missed your retirement. I wasn't the chairman then. Normally, I always say the same thing to everyone who retires, and that is, I hope you have as many years to look forward as you do back. It's very important. She's a committed member of our community, serving on the Board of Education. That's a lot of commitment. I'm happy to have met Kala Alamo. And I appreciate the fact that you're doing what you're doing in the school of readiness. It's important. It's a connection, one family at a time, one kid at a time. Lieutenant Josh Clark, who's been, a dedicated officer to the town of Willimantic for 18 years now. I think I remember your vice principal having some help with that back in the day.
He was also one of our successful wrestlers. Ken.
Yeah, well, you know why? The vice principal at the time kicked his butt a few times. But anyway, I won't get into that. That would be abuse.
He's endorsing my idea of having the alumni wrestlers come back.
All you guys
for an
help
alumni
me on
wrestling
my
event.
progress, and I appreciate all you guys.
No, we appreciate your service to our community. And, of course, my co-host, Mark Doyle, the most humble man in America.
Yeah.
What a great guy. So next week, once again, because I haven't had a chance to talk to the front office at the Red Sox, we're not on next Thursday. The following Thursday, which is the 17th of April, we'll have a wonderful teacher from the high school, Dara Bowling, who wears about 5 different hats. Not just an English teacher, she's director of the drama club down at the middle school. She works at the Temple with the kids over there. She works at the Capitol Theater over here on Main Street. She's probably one of the most dedicated teachers. I think my wife is jealous of that. I always say that to her, how Dara's like, she does everything. She's also the soap lady, Nana's Homemade Soap. And we're going to give my co-host Doyle some samples because,
Right.
you're
always-
board members, sometimes,
Always want to smell better.
this
Always
stuff
looking to
is
smell
good,
better,
Doyle.
Ken,
It'll
yeah.
cover up a lot.
Always looking to smell better.
So we welcome you. We thank you for tonight, for being with us. We thank the people who are listening. Hey, next week we're off again. Like I said, the following week, a nice guest coming on. 456-1400 is the number. Keep that handy because we love to get calls in on the show. And thank you.